wonder if John the Baptist appeared on the streets of New York City today, whether the proposal of the new mayor to involuntarily commit mentally ill people to hospitals would catch up with John the Baptist. He does remind me of some of the folks I see on the streets shouting or talking quietly to themselves. He certainly looks the part, only John the Baptist lived off the land, anti-capitalism by not participating, right? And often folks live out of dumpsters and charity. Difference perhaps being, people wanted to hear what John the Baptist had to say, which is a little surprising. We hear that he's preaching baptism and repentance of sin, and all the people are rushing out to see him and being baptized. They seem to want to be there in his presence. But we don't know what he's actually saying to the regular people who are gathered. We interrupt the story when the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the religious leaders, show up. And John the Baptist clearly has some issues with the Pharisees and the Sadducees. You brood of vipers, he calls them. I wonder if John the Baptist, in his quest to know God, might have hung out with the Pharisees or the Sadducees for quite a while. Maybe he was able to follow all the rules and rituals, but maybe he discovered he was closer to God in the wilderness than in the temple. Perhaps he also discovered that religious leaders are regular human beings and sinful, and even worse, sometimes corrupt. Maybe that's why he has a beef against the religious authorities. And yet, his offer to them seems harsh, full of violence and fire and judgment. How is that something to be welcomed? And I wonder too why our church has us hear this prophecy of John the Baptist as we prepare for the coming of Christ at Christmas. Because his prophecy doesn't seem to come or be fulfilled in the way that he imagines. We celebrate at the end of this month the coming of Christ, of God in our hearts, as a vulnerable and innocent baby, born in poverty and in a time of political violence. He is gentle and vulnerable, not someone with tools to destroy and cleanse. And even if you consider that it started like the Gospel of Mark with the story of Jesus appearing in the wilderness at age about 30 to be baptized by John. Even then, in those stories of Jesus's appearance, he does not come in wrath or judgment. Jesus spends his time preaching and healing, offering forgiveness and peace, feeding people. Oh yes, we know Jesus had his times of frustration and anger and some judgment. But the majority of what the life of Jesus teaches us is that God comes with loving arms. So what is it about an axe at the root of a tree or a winnowing fork? Now, I know most of us are not fruit farmers or wheat farmers, so let me imagine a different scenario. What if we imagine John the Baptist as a software salesman? Now, stay with me here. I get these emails and we see these ads, right? Social media promises you connection and community, but what they do is mine your personal information for their financial gain. You can't trust them. And what about all those viruses and fake emails and spams and bots? Wouldn't it be wonderful to get those off your computer and know that your phone and your tablet and your computer are free from those viruses? If I could purchase a guarantee that I would never have any viruses and I would be able to always and never lose my precious photos and important papers on my phone, I might sign up for that. And when the Silicon Valley executives show up, this salesman would say, "You brood of vipers, what brought you here to this sales meeting?" Imagine the forgiveness and love that John the Baptist, the violence that John the Baptist is promising is a relief from the viruses that infect our hearts and our community and our lives. Those are words of hope and promise. We don't mind when the fire takes away the chaff that oppresses and hurts us. Doesn't answer my question as I've been struggling thinking about this policy in New York of committing mentally ill people involuntarily. I understand the desire behind it. At St. John's, we on many occasions have folks that come in who clearly need help. And there have been times I wish I could force people to go to the hospital and get help. I know that feeling. I also know what it means to be treated with dignity and respect, to not be judged on the outside, to not have some of my crazy words taken too seriously. We don't know how we respond and care for those who need us. But it does start, especially in Advent, asking God to wipe away the viruses that infect our hearts, to prepare ourselves for a vulnerable and loving and forgiving God, who, even if we do not feel we are worthy, promises that we are worthy of God's love and forgiveness, worthy of being set free from all that oppresses us, promised the peace and freedom of Christ.